Hi, this is Brandon Dennis from Partners in Health, and I'm going to provide a quick tutorial on how to use your browser's performance analysis tools. So I've got the home page up here. I'm running this from a core shell dev server. So I've checked out ESM core, and I've run yarn run shell, and that's running the app, a development build of the app shell. That's because I'm interested in profiling and diagnosing problems in ESM core. If you're interested in doing performance analysis for a specific micro frontend or another repository, you'll want to run a development server in that place. So here's my dev server for ESM core, and I've noticed that when I click this users button, it takes about half a second to load and to close, which is a very long time. So I'm going to open the browser development tools, and I'm going to be talking about two different tools right now that are sort of complementary. There's the performance tools and the profiler, the React profiler. Let's start with the React profiler. So we want to I'm going to take a profile, and we want to keep these like really short and sweet so that it's easy to analyze the one specific thing that's going on. So I'm going to start profiling, do the action, stop profiling. And I just did the one click. So we're just looking at what happens when that one click happens. We have lots of different React parcels, and so you need to find which parcel contains the interesting information. There are parcels that correspond to the modules at the root level, like the pages, and then every extension creates a new parcel. And so if you're looking within a specific extension, then you'll find information on that there. And you can sort of tab through these with the down arrow and see, most extensions didn't do anything. For us, we're going to be interested in what's going on in ESM primary navigation app, because this is at the page level. It might also be interesting to see what's going on in this extension, but we'll have to find that parcel. So looking at this, there's some names that are sort of hard to decode, but down here we get some things that have sensible names. And as I hover these components, it actually highlights the corresponding component in the DOM. So here's the header global bar, and it's telling me that after I made the click, this component rendered for the first time, which is interesting. This extension slot also rendered for the first time, and after that extension slot was done rendering, then a header global action rendered. And then if I look later in the profile, there's two segments. So if I'll go to the next segment, and it looks like it's not clear to me that this is actually related to my click action. So I think this is what's important. It's pretty hard to interpret what's going on here. And this is really the challenging thing about doing performance analysis. It's easy to collect the data, but it can be difficult to figure out how to interpret it. This appears unrelated. This has to do with this active visits table. So this would be the active visits extension parcel. I'm going to click through and see. Okay, here's an extension that is maybe happening in there. Here's another. Again, sort of hard to tell. I'm not really sure where these things are loading. Okay, here's another extension, the one that loads the implementer tools. Oh, this looks relevant. Okay, so this parcel is just the extension that defines the search box, or sorry, the locale dropdown. And that's all of the parcels. Okay, so we didn't find anything terribly easy to interpret going on there, but if the other tools come up short, we might return to this and see if we can sift through a little more and see if we can figure out what's going on. For now, let's click on the Performance tab and use the non-React, the generic browser performance profiler. So we're going to profile the exact same thing in pretty much the exact same way. We're going to click Record, do the action, stop profiling. And it's going to give us a lot of little graphs. These are intimidating at first, but you'll start to make more sense of them. There's this graph, which can help highlight performance issues with like too many nodes or listeners or other things being created. We're not going to look at that for now, nor are we going to worry about the summary, though this is kind of nice. It tells us how much time was spent scripting versus rendering, painting. So it seems like we spent a lot of time executing scripts. The render happened pretty fast. This is one way to look at all the things that executed is using bottom up or call tree, event log. All of these things are different ways at looking at what executed. And a lot of it, some different ways of looking at it will be easier to interpret than others, depending on what you're looking for. You kind of just have to look at a lot of things and be okay with not understanding a lot of what it's telling you until you see something that you do understand, and then follow those threads until you have some kind of insight. We're going to focus on this sort of timeline view, which is maybe one of the easier things to look at. So if we look at the like top level colorful timeline, this actually shows us a continuous like video of what the screen looked like, and we see our box, the drop down appeared right here. Okay, right at the end of this yellow zone. And this yellow zone, that corresponds to the yellow we saw in the pie chart earlier. That's scripting time. And so the scripting started about here, which is probably about when our click event happened. And that is what's going to be interesting to look at. If you see this red bar at the top that extends from about 1800 milliseconds to about 2200 milliseconds, that's the duration, that's how long it took after we clicked on that icon for the drop down to appear. So almost half a second of processing. So let's find out what happened. If we highlight this area, it allows us to zoom in and view what was running in the main thread at that time. So there's going to be a lot of names that are sort of hard to read, a lot of things that might not be terribly useful or easy to look at, but we're hunting for clues. The first thing that I sort of recognize, there's a bunch of like generic, who knows what, step, anonymous, unmount component at node, a lot of React internal stuff. But the first thing that I recognize as being something that is actually within our ESM core is this function update config extension store. That's a function of ours. And that's running here, and when it runs, it takes maybe 20 milliseconds to run. And then it seems to be running again, and again, and again, and again. Okay, we've got some rendering going on. Compute extension configs, sort of related. Oh, okay, and that's a called from update config extension store. So what this indicates to me is that we're spending a lot of time calling this function update config extension store. It would seem like we have, like, this performance issue is caused by some inefficiency in the way that we are computing extension store configs. And so in seeking to improve our app's performance, this would be a very good place to look to improve how extension configs are computed and how the store works. You'll see that this call actually lasts quite a while, like 100 milliseconds or so. So yeah, I hope this has been helpful and informative, and I hope it inspires people to open up these tools more often, and see if they can derive some insights from them. Often a lot of the information is just sort of confusing, and it seems like you're not going to find anything useful. But then you find something you recognize, and once you do find something you recognize, often that can be really, really valuable information about your application. Thanks for watching.